getting dismissed. The judge ruling the appointment of interim U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan violated the Constitution. The judge also criticized the DOJ for allowing an FBI agent who viewed Comey's privileged materials to testify to the grand jury. Now, the judge also tossed the case against Letitia James. Donna, we are just getting this on the wire. Talk to us about your top line thoughts in this moment.
Well, frankly, I'm not really surprised about the appointment of the Attorney General on that situation. I did think that that was going to be an issue, and I did think from the very beginning that Comey was going to have a valid legal argument. And what's interesting about the decision is it doesn't go to whether or not crimes are actually committed. It just goes to the way in which the prosecutor was appointed. So I'm not surprised legally when it comes to that issue.
Right. Do we foresee at all then an appeal or a different then prosecution, a second bite of the apple then with procedural things intact?
Yes, it's a 29-page opinion. I was just reading through it. So sorry if I look distracted during our segment. It doesn't get to the claim of malicious prosecution that Jim Comey was making. So this is solely the appointments clause, and that's why you have both cases dismissed against both individuals.
Right. And it is kind of interesting, though, because obviously that's kind of a fluke side ruling, not on the merits of the case. But it is kind of interesting how all of these fluke side rulings always tend to seem to go in the same direction.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I want to give you an opportunity also if you want to go back because it was so important.
Oh, well, I just wanted to say, going back to this.
Well, what I will say is that everybody knows that James Comey lied to Congress. It's as clear as day. And this judge took an unprecedented action to throw these cases out to shield James Comey and Letitia James from accountability based on a technical ruling. And the administration disagrees with that technical ruling. We believe the attorney in this case, Lindsay Halligan, is not only extremely qualified for this position, but she was in fact legally appointed, and I know the Department of Justice will be appealing this in very short order. So maybe James Comey should pump the brakes on his victory lap.
What's up, everybody? It is Monday, and it's time for Pop and Politics. Oh my gosh, so much to talk about from over the weekend to today. We got a lot to get into. I'm KJ. Let me introduce you to my co-host. Of course, we have Nicole Bennett.
Hey, y'all.
Shelly E.
Hi.
And back with us tonight, it's Monday night, and Tyrone Keys with us of Soldiers of Finance. How are you all doing tonight?
Doing good.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. So again, lots to cover. But before we light this fire, do your part. Tap that thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and turn on your notifications. We are live here on YouTube. If you're on the go, you can catch us on Apple Podcast or Spotify under the name Pop and Politics. We love our chat. We shout out every super chat. So drop your thoughts, show your love, and join the conversation that the mainstream media wishes didn't exist. This is not just a podcast. This is a movement of God-fearing, truth-seeking, America-loving people that value freedom. Stand with us and subscribe so we can amplify this rallying call for freedom. All right, everybody, let's set it off. Okay, so you all saw it at the top of the show tonight. We are talking about this breaking news. A federal judge has tossed the indictments against James Comey and Letitia James without prejudice. Okay, as a result, he granted James Comey's motion to dismiss the indictment and the motion to dismiss of Letitia James. So while the court's order dismissed the indictment without prejudice, the dismissal, if upheld, may effectively end the prosecution. First thoughts on this, Shelley?
The swamp is deep, okay? Yes, this can be re-litigated or resubmitted for prosecution, but again, the swamp is deep.
Yeah. Nicole, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, they're definitely going to appeal. I don't know how this is really going to affect the case, especially Comey's case, and it's so very apparent. Big Tish probably stands a better chance of getting off the hook. But what Shelley said is right. The swamp is deep. We have these activist judges really and truly showing their tails lately. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's even affecting our temporary protected status orders. So we really do need to do something about these judges.
Yeah. Soldiers of Finance, Tyrone, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm fine with letting it drag out as long as possible because this is having a big time impact on their pockets. So the best case scenario is that they, lose a substantial amount of their retirement funds because, I mean, these people are dirty. And we'll see how intelligent they are. A sane person would just shut the hell up at this point, but I'm sure they'll be out talking big and boastful tomorrow.
Well, let me ask you all this, because according to what I've been reading up on this is Pam Bondi's fault. Okay. And so I want to get you all response to this. So National Review is reporting that first, the statute that governs interim U.S. attorneys' appointments, Section 546, provides for a single 120-day interim period. Prior to Halligan, that's the prior attorney prosecutor, being installed by Attorney General Pam Bondi on September 22nd, 2025, at the direction of President Trump, her predecessor, Eric Siebert, had served a 120-day interim term. Okay, so Siebert was banished by Trump over his refusal to charge Comey and James, concluding there was insufficient evidence. So now Bondi brings in this new guy, Halligan. Okay. And apparently there was a patent problem by naming Halligan a special attorney. And this is what the judge found, and backdating that designation to the start of her tenure. So, but she didn't do that until October 31st. By then, Halligan had indicted Comey on September 25th and James on October 9th. The backdating couldn't work because at the time of the indictments, Halligan did not formally have the special status and the accompanying delegation of prosecutorial authority from Bondi. So it sounds like this is some type of procedural issue, but Pam Bondi should have known this. Did you guys hear anything about this?
But bottom line, this is unfortunately, this happens a lot in government, right? The backdating, the administrative, the technicalities, all the bureaucracy. And I'm going to say this, it also comes from the appearance, if you will, of rushing this through, okay? Not crossing the T's and dotting the I's. So now we get up here, you put these prosecutors in front of this judge. Most of them are activist judges right now. So they're going to find any out they can to dismiss these cases against their cronies, if you will. And here we have this soup. So I mean, it's amazing to me. It's amazing, but it's not, because this is, again, I'm just going to keep saying it. The swamp is deep.
Yeah, Nicole. I mean, so secondly, National Review goes on and says Bondi's status might not have required dismissal if she had assigned properly commissioned subordinates, like prosecutors known as assistant U.S. attorneys, to present the cases and sign the indictments. Authority to prosecute comes from the Attorney General, not the district U.S. attorney. Halligan decided, however, to handle the grand jury presentations and to sign the indictments herself. So again, and you guys, I've said this on here before, I'm not a fan of Pam Bondi's. I mean, I love that she is, a bulldog for President Trump, but she always seems to me to come up short. The same thing with the rollout of the Epstein files. I mean, she's been making these mistakes along the way, it seems to me, and it doesn't look good. She looks like she's not prepared for the job. Nicole, what are your thoughts there?
So I love Pam, but I will tell you this. When we talk about the swamp and the administrative state, just because Pam Bondi is the top of the DOJ doesn't mean that everybody in the DOJ is new. These are career people. When we talk about career people in the federal government, these are people who've been there a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, and they're throwing up every possible roadblock that they can. It is what they do. This is the reason that we argue term limits. Term limits sounds like a great idea, except for it increases the power of the administrative state. The legislator will leave in 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, but the people who literally run those offices will stay and become career people. So the mistakes that you see, the Epstein files, that whole fiasco, but the mistakes that you see are what we see as clerical mistake, process mistakes. Well, you're the boss. You do have oversight of some people, but you can't watch everybody all the time. And just like there are activist judges, there are activist people who work in every single one of our alphabet agencies, and they're not going anywhere. These are GS employees. They're here to stay.
All right. I want to get you the last thought on this, Tyrone, because again, now this just broke today, but it appears to be that, across the board, this is not something that is, where this mistake, this is something that is part of the process. This whole tenure that the special attorney had to have, and this backdating, this is something that's not partisan. This is part of the process. And the judge caught on to it and called them out on it. What are your, to me, again, this is Bondi, messing up. I want them to get them as much as anybody, probably more. I'll throw Fauci in on it too. But we need people at the top of their game doing to get these people. And it looks like Pam Bondi is always messing up. I'm the only one here who's saying that, I guess. What are your thoughts, Taro?
Well, she's no Ed Meese for sure, but the Justice Department has to slow things down. They got to slow the game down a little bit. It doesn't matter if these people are brought to justice inside the Trump term. That doesn't matter. The fact is, it matters if they're brought to justice. So this may take a while. They've got to make sure that the charges will stick. And you know what? Some of them might not, in which case you can't prosecute them. Okay. That's how our system works. They were told that about the Virginia charges on Letitia James. Notice the prosecutor in New York is being much more deliberative. They're not rushing that case against her in New York. They're taking their time before they charge. There's a grand jury convened. So I just think they got to slow the game down a lot. And I wouldn't be upset if Pam Bondi didn't make it through the whole 4 years.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. All right, folks, sound off in the chat. Let us know what you think. Are you all big fans of Pam Bondi, or do you think that there needs to be some type of switch out? Maybe she isn't up for the job. Let us know what you all think. Sound off. We have a
Go ahead.
Sorry, Shelly. We have a super chatter here. All right, we have Gloria Beardsley with a $20 super chat. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. All right, we do appreciate you folks. Your super chats go a long way in helping us produce this conservative content. Any amount is appreciated. All right, so let's talk about this massive Somali fraud scandal rocking Minnesota. Okay, billions stolen, terrorists funded, and Walz's, the governor's, epic fail. Take a look at this next clip. This is clip 8.
Somalis are not terrorizing this nation. We are helping it thrive. Somalis have always seen themselves as a fabric of this nation. So not only are we not going anywhere, we are not going to allow anybody to make us feel less Minnesotan or less American.
All right, this woman makes me sick. But before I get you guys to chime in on this, so there she's saying Somalis are the fabric of America. But just recently, she was saying she was a Somali girl. Take a look here. This is clip 9.
No, in jidadkeeni aan wada dhisano. Anigu waan ahay gabar Mareykanka laga doortay oo Congress-ka Mareykanka ku jirto. Laakiin waxaan ahay gabar Soomaaliyeed, gabar idinku jinsi ah, gabar idinku af ah, gabar idinku diin ah, oo hadde qof iyadoo da'yar waddankeedii laga kaxeeyo weli xiise u qabto in maalin waddankeedii ay ku noolaato oo dadkeedii wax ay la wadaagto marka alxamdulilah waxaan rajaynayaa aniga iyo ilmahayga in aan haddee ku barbaariyo iyagana ilmahooda ay ku barbaariyaan dhulkii aniga aan ku soo koray taasna haddii ay suurtagelayso waa hadda shaqo badan inaan wada qabannaa hadduu ilaahay yidhaahdo oo aan ka dhignaa dhulkeenna dhul barwaaqadiisa dadka oo dhan ay dareemi karaan oo ay arki karaan oo ay ka wada faa'iidaysan karaan.
Oh my goodness. So there she's saying that she was a young girl taken from her country and that she eventually wants to go back there and raise her children. So she feels like she's a Somali at heart. She's a Somali girl that first, and she wants to go back there. I don't know what's holding her, but let's get into this. So a massive welfare fraud network, mainly tied to Minnesota Somali refugee community, has stolen billions in taxpayer dollars, with some of that money likely flowing to al-Shabab, the al-Qaeda linked terror group operating in Somalia. This was uncovered by a City Journal investigation. They found fraud across Minnesota's welfare programs ballooned into one of the biggest welfare heists in U.S. history. Shelley, what is going on?
First, I want her to go back to Somalia as well. Okay, bitch, nothing is stopping you here. You are free to leave the United States anytime you want. Number two, I want to reiterate and make it as clear as possible. I was agree to a constitutional amendment that if you are not a U.S. citizen born on United States, the 48 contiguous states, okay? If you are not born on the U.S. soil, you cannot hold any office. I am ready for that amendment myself, okay? I don't care who it offends, but that's the way I am. Number three, be warned. I know this happened in Minnesota, and Christopher Rufo and the other guy revealed this, and they blew this case apart, if you will. But these are taxpayer dollars. It involves Medicaid. It involves other insurance. It involves NGOs. So that means, and since it goes overseas, that's also taken from the state level to the U.S. country level, international level. So this involves all of us. So we all have a say in this. This is a fraud. I don't expect Walz, his bitch ass, to do much anyway. But I mean, this is, again, stop sending our money everywhere except to give it back to Americans and send that bitch home. She can wear all the hijabs, burqas, cover her whole face if she wants over there. She can do it, but let's send her back very quickly. She can be as happy as she wants in Somalia while she's under terrorist rule.
Yeah, Nicole, I mean, prosecutors have secured 56 convictions in the Feeding Our Future case alone. This was a scheme that stole roughly $300 million intended to feed children during COVID. How does something like this happen?
It's because the governor is an activist. You know, when we talk about these activist legislators, it's not just because we have ideological differences with these people. It's not that. It's that what they believe leads them to commit crimes against the American taxpayer. And this is what Shelley was talking about. You know, was it maybe 4 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, where the ladies of The View were sitting there saying there's no illegal people getting Medicaid, blah, 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 blah. Well, listen, they've stolen COVID money, taken literally food out of poor children's mouths. And these people, God love them, it is time for them to go back home. It is time for this protected status to end. But yet again, another activist judge says, no, 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 no. So DOJ and Pam Bondi running back to the Supreme Court to get an immediate order against the stay that they got to stay here in the nation. And in the meantime, they're having about 5 kids per family. This is when I talk about that birthright citizenship. 5 kids per family. And you look at chain migration. So these kids, under today's standards, would be deemed American citizens, but their parents are Somali nationals. So these American kids want mom to be here, and then dad to be here, then grandma to be here, and auntie and uncle to be here. And before you know it, it's not just Dearborn, it's not just Minnesota, it's all over the Midwest. So we have to get this worked out sooner than later. In all of these emergency trips to the Supreme Court, just so we can stand on law and order, is ridiculous. It really is.
It is. I mean, Tyrone, this Medicaid housing stabilization program was crazy. So this welfare program exploded from $2.6 million in projected cost to $104 million in payouts. Much of it was fraudulent. What is going on in Minnesota in this Somali community?
Well, someone mentioned Tim Walz, and when you look at him, doesn't he look like the type of guy that you could steal $1 million from?
Yeah.
You know, slap him in the face and just take his money. Okay. And that's basically what they did. This is the same state that has adjusted its flag so that it has elements of the Somali flag in it. And mind you, there are only 80,000 Somalis in the state of 6 million people, but they have totally transformed the way they think in that state to accommodate this group of people who should be grateful to be here. Okay. I don't know why Ilhan Omar can't come out tomorrow and follow MTG's example and say, you know what? I'm resigning. I'm going back to Somalia and I'm taking my kids with me. She said she wants to, right? She doesn't really want to. So I'm all for it. And I'm all for the fact that Trump is ending this program that gives this special dispensation to folk from Somalia. You guys need to go back and fix your country. Y'all need to work on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Shelley, I want to ask you this because the left continues to throw out the idea of Islamophobia and, saying that we're being xenophobic. But I mean, this was a Somali problem. An imported clan-based Somali network was at the center of this fraud, exploiting the U.S.'s generous welfare system. I mean, we talked about the medical housing stabilization program. Also, they had this Minnesota Medicaid autism. So they were the spending jumped from $3 million to $399 million in 5 years, all Somali run. Are we wrong to lean in on them on being that they were Somali? This was a Somali community?
Sign me up in the xenophobia line then. Okay. That's put a sticker on my head. I'm xenophobic. If that's what it means. Because again, these are taxpayer funds. They don't just come from Minnesota. Again, I've said it once, I've said it 10 times. Take out the word grants and all of these subsidies. It's taxpayers' money from local, state, and federal sources. And the fact that, keep in mind, government programs don't tend to get smaller. Hell, you can't even get rid of them. They only get bigger. And to create this one group, they added everything in here but the kitchen sink, housing, autism, Medicaid. They had it for addicts and for all these low barrier people. What the hell? An addict can't keep a house. What you gonna give a house to an addict for? Or someone who's autistic? Someone who's autistic needs really to be supervised under some kind of supervised care. This is BS. This is nothing but a boondoggle. It's a front. It's a fraud. It's bigger than fraud, waste, and abuse, if you will. This is a scam. Okay, all those physicians or providers that were getting reimbursed, this was a scam of the highest order. And Minnesotans, Americans, I want my money back. I want an accounting. Shut down the program. Send the Somalis back to Somalia or wherever they want to go. Let's get rid of them and then clean up Minnesota and the rest of our taxpayer dollars.
Yeah. Nicole, I mean, how does this transfer, or because the left tries to paint all the black and brown people together, so we as American blacks are supposed to embrace these Somalis because they're brown people, as the left tries to categorize this. How do we push back against that line of attack from the left?
Well, again, the Democrats have been trying to replace black with brown for a good 5, maybe 10 years now. So these are just more people that they're replacing your black self with. Okay. They don't really go out and court the Somalis because the Somalis are very grateful. Listen, coming to the United States from a nation that's war-torn, starving, desert-like, and you get here and every time you flip a switch, the light comes on and stays on until you turn the switch off. It's like a stroke of magic. I get that they want to be here. I get that they don't necessarily ascribe to black culture because they're not. They have their own culture and they're doing what they need to do to stay here. Again, all of these people who are participating in this systematic racism, are wearing this system out. They found the loopholes and they're abusing it. And that government in Minnesota is okay with it. They're absolutely okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Tyrone, I mean, this is, as Nicole said, as Shelley has said, this is our hard-earned taxpayer money being not only thrown down the drain through fraud, but also funneling, this is being funneled to terrorist organizations. I mean, we are paying for our own demise. How do we get the word out to Americans that this is a major issue and it's being pushed on the Democrat dime? The Democrats are upholding this type of nonsense.
Well, I think first you need to start with the premise that we're getting into a late stage of empire, where it should be very clear that politicians care primarily for their own personal interests. There's a dwindling number of politicians who actually want to go into these legislatures and represent we, the people. These bastards are representing cartel members, illegal immigrants, violent felons, much, much more stridently than they're representing the law-abiding tax-paying citizen. So we have to start to change the way we interact with the politician and see them as adversaries, okay, by and large. And there are some things we could do. We actually put out 9 actions that people can take. The second action on our list, and you can view them on the Soldiers of Finance community page on YouTube. The second one is stop giving money to 501c3s. Stop giving any money to them. Okay, I'm not saying don't participate in charity, but just like I did today, take them a box of food. Okay, I'm not taking you money. Take them some clothes. Take them some furniture, but don't take them any money. All right. Bug the hell out of your local politicians. Let them know you're watching. All right. Demand accountability. All right. Become the squeaky wheel. You can review those 9 on our post page, but it is important that we start to view the politician as an adversary, not as an ally.
Right. Absolutely. Well done. And folks, as you know, you can find all of that at Soldiers of Finance right here on YouTube, where Tyrone channel is there. And he's got it all listed out for you. So excellent point there, Tyrone. Folks, as you come in, hit that like button. It helps to get this video out in front of a wider audience, and subscribe. What are you waiting for? We are building a community here of God-fearing, truth-seeking, America-loving people that value freedom. We got to come together. We have to come together in this time, because the Democrats are in lockstep. They are solid. And so we as conservatives, we as people on the right need to do the same. We need to come together to support one another. And we do that by supporting programs like this one. All right.
We got
Shelley,
2 super chatters here.
Yes.
We have Brown Eyes. Thank you, Brown Eyes, for your $5 super chat. Don't you make my brown eyes blue. She says liberals will not let Trump do his job. They fear he will MAGA. Absolutely. Thanks, Brown Eyes. We also have William. I can't understand that, but we have William here. Thank you for your $10 super chat, William. He's asking, should a state be charged back a percentage, about 25% of his Medicaid expenditures? They should be charged back, give it back, and rest of it too, and then close it down.
Okay. Nicole, you wanted to say something towards that? I saw you nodding.
I agree 100%. There should be a chargeback. And another thing we talked about probably earlier in the year is that all of the money being sent out of the United States back to their homelands should not incur just a 3 or 4 or 5% tax on it. The tax should be 75%.
Great point.
I want my money back. I'm on it with Shelley. It's getting close to the time I have to write the IRS a check. I want my money back. I want my money back.
Absolutely. All right, folks, changing gears a little bit. Want to talk about, as we were talking about, the fighting on the right and in the left seems pretty in lockstep. Ever since Charlie Kirk's assassination, the right has splintered into factions and infighting like we've never seen before, to be honest. And it's been an absolute bloodbath. Well, now, thanks to X's new verification features, we're learning something even more disturbing. And now we've been talking about this on Pop and Politics. A lot of the voices stirring up chaos on the right weren't even Americans. Mm-hmm. They were foreign actors pretending to be conservatives, intentionally fueling division inside our country. So if this isn't a wake-up call, folks, to be discerning about who we listen to, who we trust, I don't know what is. Take a look at this. This is clip 3. All right. So this is what X just did. They are now providing the location of where these accounts were created. Okay. And this just happened, I believe, on Sunday. And looking here, we're finding out that some of these large accounts were pretending to be conservative accounts, and a lot of them were pushing an anti-Israel, side, and they were all out of Qatar, Lebanon. We have another one here, clip 4. Take a look at this next one here. This is clip 4. This one is an account that was linked to Andrew Tate, the War Room. Mm-hmm. And this one is an enterprise based in Lebanon. And it connected to X via the Qatari App Store. Do you all see this? So many of these accounts, even we've seen it, like generally when we talk, we do an episode on Candace Owens or something like that. We get spammed with people attacking us. And so now we're seeing that many of these accounts are bots. Now, I don't even know if they're bots. They're made up. They're fake accounts. They're from, or maybe real accounts from foreign entities. Mm-hmm. We have another image here, image 1, where this was one of the ones where the account claimed he lived in the U.S. and grew up a Christian who converted to Islam. Okay, so you see this. This guy claimed he lived in the United States. So this is what we're seeing. These accounts are posing as Christians, but really and they're pushing Islamic rhetoric. Here's image 2. Another one. So this is the Church of Satan. They were actually out of Canada, but were pretending to be here based in North America. Okay, so we're seeing that this appears to be a lot of these accounts are really pushing Islamic or radical Islam. Okay, I want to get your thoughts on this, Nicole.
Listen, we've known this for a while, right? And it's unfortunate, but most people don't really get their news from reliable sources. It's hard to find a reliable source, right? So they depend on X, they depend on, IG, they depend on all of these alternative medias, but they're not really paying attention to who they're liking and what they're saying. So when someone bashes Trump and that fits your ideology, then you just kind of follow that account. And before you know it, you're spewing exactly what that person spewed by the repost button. And then it becomes viral, right? So this is the world that we live in now. Shout out to Elon now. You talk about coming in and saving the day as per usual. It just seems like he shows up like Batman and fixes the problem with no Robin. I mean, it is an amazing thing that this man is doing with this data. But the caveat is Americans have got to learn to actually read with comprehension again. And I think that's going to be a big turn because most people, more than 50, 60 words, they're out of there. They don't do that thing called reading anymore.
Yeah. Shelley, what are your thoughts on this?
So this was news to me. I'm learning this as well. So yes, thank God for Elon to open this up. But I had thought about this. Remember, this year we've had some, I guess, deals with the Saudis, the Qataris, and I'm wondering if this is another way that they are getting access to the market, so to speak, the broader market. Many people in those countries, Iran, for instance, they kind of block their internet use, right? So all these people are now infiltrating, if you will, or infusing via X and other medium into the American market. Yes, we absolutely do need to read, and I think this is a wake-up call, certainly. But I think what it also should do is it definitely should, I guess, give us cause or pause to challenge our own cognitive dissonance, so that when we are reading these tweets or whatever, maybe we should say, okay, what is exactly being challenged here? What is it asking me to rethink, and why? Again, I'm not savvy on a lot of these social medias, getting down into the nuts and bolts, so to speak. But this is certainly interesting, eye-opening, and we definitely need to dig a little deeper.
Yeah, Tyrone, I mean, this is right up the Marxist playbook. They are infiltrating us from within. So what do you have? You have probably thousands of these types of accounts. And this is just what we found on X. We haven't looked on Instagram, Facebook, within oh my gosh, TikTok. They're all over TikTok. They have infiltrated us on social media, and we wonder where all these social contagions come from. Now, most of these that I've pointed out today are coming from an Islamic slant. What about the ones that are probably pushing the trans identity, these LGBTQ mafia identities on our children? We are seeing what the Marxists have been planning their agenda for many, many decades to infiltrate us from within, and they're doing it via social media. How can we combat this? I'm about to say Pastor. Tyrone.
Pastor Damon.
I know, how can we combat this?
Well, I would like to peel back the onion a little further.
Okay.
Nothing happens to this scale without some deep pockets behind it. So is this Western intelligence agencies that are backing these fake accounts? Is it China? Is this some sort of ploy to engineer a certain sentiment among Western politicians, so money keeps flowing to defense, certain defense contractors? It all leads back to the dollar bill, in some way, shape, or form. And I think these are dispersed in such a way. If you look at some of these countries, a lot of them are, the Qataris, for example, are allies of the United States of America. So, at least on paper. So what's up with that? So, we got to be very discerning these days. You got AI out there that is becoming better and better each day. Okay. So it's really a job. And like Nicole said, Nicole was being very generous. People don't read past the 4 or 5 words in a headline. Okay. So we just got to be careful. I don't think we should take anything at face value, because the disclosure of this could be a part of the engineered situation.
Yeah, it could be, but he has uncovered a fraud. That's one thing we can confirm. Elon Musk is who I'm talking about, has uncovered a fraud. Number 2, most of these fraudulent accounts that we've been seeing are skewing it towards an Islamic rhetoric to put Islam in a good light, to put down on Israel, and to create some type of clash within the conservative movement. Who have we seen doing that lately? Candace Owens, maybe sort of Tucker Carlson. They're even talking about how some of these people could go on YouTube and put out money for super chats. And these people are reading these super chats online. So again,
some of them need to come over to Tyrone stand. We ain't getting no super chat.
Here too. Here too. Yeah, but this is pretty terrible, and this is right on the heels of us having what you can call sort of a civil war, some people may say, on the right. Take a look at this. This is clip 5, Matt Walsh from the Daily Wire.
I want to call a truce. I can only do it on my end. I want to call a truce. I want to extend an olive branch to everybody on my side, everybody on the right. We are dealing with a threat. We are dealing, Drew, you said it yourself. These are people, like, the political violence is on one side. This is on one side. There is one side that engages in political violence. There is one side that, like, rejects the basic realities of life. There's one side that's responsible for murdering 60 million babies in this country. Okay, it's one side. And so I think that for right now, and maybe we'll get back to the arguments, maybe we'll get back to the infighting, we'll get back to that in the future, I'm sure. But for right now, I think we need to be unified against this threat, especially now, especially with the midterms coming up and the presidential election right after that. The left, if they get back into control, they're going to be out for blood even more than they ever have been. And so we need to be united against that together.
And very distressing to me, since I've spent my whole life on the right, whatever that is, I'm beginning to ask, what is that exactly?
I am calling on the left and the right to unify and to solve what happened on September 10th. All of us, left and right.
That has to be the compromise. The left has to give on immigration, and the right has to give on the free market. That party will win 90% of the vote and rule for a century. That's the compromise.
I do think that there are some people who claim to be conservatives who actually are not interested in conserving Western civilization at all.
All right. All right. So let's get into that, Shelley. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, we do have, Tyrone, to your point, we do have some super chatters here, okay? I don't think they're from Qatar or Iran, but we have Gloria who's back with us. Thank you, Gloria, for your
Wow.
Thank you. And thank you for being a member of our Freedom Club. And Gloria says, I've never liked Pam, nor when she says we're coming for you. We will hunt you down. This is not sounding Christ-like. Please, God, forgive me. Thank you, Gloria, so much for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was very generous. Yes.
All right. We have another would-be Qatari, Tyrone Davis. Thank you for your super chat, for your $4.99, your $5. And thank you for your super sticker, Tyrone. You're not from Qatar.
All right. Wow. Thank you all so much. We really appreciate you guys. You keep us online, folks. You really do. And the thing about us is we kind of know everybody. We know one another. We recognize everybody here. So we're building a family. We're building, a movement. And we appreciate each and every one of you. So let's get into this. And so that clip was very, it was very interesting because, well, before I give my 2 cents, I want you all to talk. What do you think about what we just saw there, Shelley? How do we unify the right against the left? How do we come together?
Well, we've done it before. And now that I think since we've largely won a few battles, now we're kind of like, okay, who do we fight now? We still need to stay on that train. We need to focus on, again, economy, illegal immigration, the left overall with the abortion, like Matt Walsh mentioned. We need to focus on the real enemy. It's not the enemies on the right, if you will, because you might disagree on 20%. I'm going to be Reagan-esque. You might disagree on 20%, and the other 80% we agree on. Let's keep that. Let's keep that and focus on the left, because guess what? They're not going away. The trans issues that they want to push, they're not going to just put them under the rug. The DEI stuff is not going to be swept away. We still have to fight, and we have the midterms, and we still have a country to save, because President Trump will not always be in office.
All right. All right. Nicole, so we've seen some things over the last couple of weeks, but is it just a small faction that is kicking up all of this dust, or do you believe we have an actual issue on the right? What are your thoughts there?
I get to talk to rank and file Republicans a lot. I travel a lot to do speeches and that kind of thing. And rank and file Republicans don't have these problems. These are very elite, quote unquote, conservative, quote unquote, uniparty folk who, because they feel some kind of way, they think everybody in the bubble feels that way. Listen, one thing I know about people who are on the right, conservative people, are very individualistic. And you may be having a fight with someone, and I may say, you know what, Tyrone is right. that KJ's microphone is too shiny. Not my business, though. I might comment, but it's not my business. I don't have a dog in that fight. And most Republicans feel this way. Now, there are some people who are diehard Candace people. They love the conspiracy theories and down the rabbit hole and half a receipt and all of that. And then there are people who like Nick Fuentes because they think he's fiery. But when you get into Democrat versus Republican, they're going to line up with the Republicans, mostly because this is where their belief system meets. So you may see people online saying, oh, you know, I ride with Candace, I ride with this, I ride with that other thing. But whomever Trump passes that baton to is going to have an army of people behind him, rank and file people. And now it may not be Tucker, it may not be Candace. And make no mistake, they have huge platforms with people from all over the world. Hear that. And thank you, Elon, again, for pointing that out. People from all over the world watching their shows. But rank and file Republicans don't have this to do. We're still trying to feed our children. We're trying to find a way to save money for our retirement. It's interesting, but it's not day in and day out for us. It really is not.
Yeah, I think you're right, Nicole. And CNN is backing you up with the data on that. Before I get you in on this, Tyrone, I want you guys to take a look at this clip 6.
So is the president losing Republicans?
No. Look, this is still Donald Trump's Republican Party, and we can see it here. It's like a rock, to quote Bob Seger. I mean, take a look here. Republicans who approve of Trump. 6 months ago, it was 87%. Now, well, hello, it's the same number. It's 87%. He has not lost any support among Republicans compared to 6 months ago. As I said at the beginning, he's like a rock. He's like a rock. The Republican base is sticking by Donald Trump at this point in time.
It really is interesting to watch his overall approval rating go down, 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 but see this be completely constant here.
It is among independents. It is not among Republicans.
Okay, so how does this compare to past presidents in a second term?
Yeah, okay, I think this gives the game away, right? Which is Donald Trump, if you look at 21st century presidents' own party approval at this point in term 2, who leads the pack? It's Donald John Trump. 87% of Republicans approve of Donald John Trump. You go back to 2013, 78% of Democrats supported Barack Obama, and it was 78% of Republicans who supported George W. Bush back in 2005 at this point. So Donald Trump has the biggest highest own party approval of any president who served their entire second term in the 21st century.
You could look at this one of two ways. You could say, obviously, he's doing way better than past presidents. Or you could say, there is still room to settle. If there is a reversion to the mean here, if that does fall further, that could chip into his overall approval rating. Okay, Marjorie Taylor Green resigning from Congress in January. One of the concerns is that Donald Trump backed someone in a primary against her. How has Donald Trump done in his congressional endorsements?
You know, when you go up against Donald Trump, you're going up against a buzzsaw, because Donald Trump's endorsement record is, it's hard to find anyone else who beats it. Times Trump endorsees won GOP primaries. In 2020, it was 98%. 2022, it was 95%. In 2024, it was 96%. And I will note, the majority of times that Donald Trump backed a challenger to an incumbent like Marjorie Taylor Green, that challenger won a majority of the time. The bottom line is this. There was a real reason why Marjorie Taylor Green decided, you know what, it's not worth the fight, because more times than not, when you go up against Donald Trump in a Republican primary, you lose.
Not just more times than not, almost all times.
Almost all of the times, yeah.
Based on these. All right, Marjorie Taylor Green, she's saying she's not going to run for president, but there are other questions, which is, hey, is she going to stay a Republican even? What do the markets think about that?
All right, so we go to the prediction markets here, and the chance to leave the Republican Party by January 1st of 2027. You can see it, 31%. I think this is a pretty good baseline, which is more likely than not Marjorie Taylor Greene will stay within the Republican ranks, but there's actually a pretty decent chance that she doesn't. And then that becomes really interesting to see what she has to say about Republicans and Donald Trump in particular if she decides to wave adios amigos.
This is the Republicans, the prediction market saying there is a chance.
There is a chance.
Harriet, and thank you very much.
Wow. All right. Tyrone. So we're talking about unifying the party, and it does seem that most of the party is unified behind Trump. But what about someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene? We just saw that she is another one that kicked up dust, on the right, against Trump and things like that. What are your thoughts?
Lyndon B. Johnson said the difference between the House of Representatives and the Senate is the difference between chicken shit and chicken salad. By President's Day, no one will remember who Marjorie Taylor Green was. Okay. And I know she's got a lot of fans, and that's great. But congressmen come and they go. And she made a big splash. She was a very interesting personality. And now she's gone. All right. So I wish her well. But non-factor. Absolute not. And why do Republicans, this is CNN just creating content out of thin air, because they know that Marjorie Taylor Green has not a chance in hell of doing anything on the Democrat side.
Well, we'll see. We will see. But speaking of Marjorie Taylor Green, here is Larry Elder saying what he believes is going to happen with her since and the reason why she resigned so early. This is clip 10.
I'm going to make you a prediction. I've got a feeling Marjorie Taylor Green has gotten some offer, whether it's CNN or MSNBC, because after breaking with Trump, all of a sudden now she becomes a hero to the left. It wouldn't surprise me if we don't see her pop up on some sort of program, either as a pundit or maybe even her own show. But just keep that in mind when it happens. Hey, the great Al Dirkey saw that coming. All right, 888-971-SAGE. Bill is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Bill, you're on the Larry Elder Show. Thank you for calling.
Hello, Larry. Marjorie Taylor Green, I think what she is doing wrong is something, generally speaking, that the Republicans always do poorly. They always fight over the issues. Democrats do not do that. They stick together well.
They do.
And what she would be doing is creating a division in the Republican Party, and that's bad. Now, and the Epstein issue was kind of an exception, because that was a legitimate issue that even Dan Bongino and them wanted to take it up.
Well, Bill, that's right. And she basically broke with him over that issue. Well, he's already conceded. He's already said put it all out. So she won on the issue. And so that you have to go, full-throatedly against Donald Trump because of Epstein when you won on the issue? I don't get it. Anyway, she's now said she's going to resign from Congress, and I got a feeling she has some sort of other alternative. Otherwise, I don't believe she would have done it.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah, go ahead, Nicole. Was that the reason why? I can't remember who's supposed to go next. Was that the reason why she you think she split with President Trump, or was there something else behind this?
Well, listen, Marjorie Taylor Green, here's some interesting math. In order to receive your pension for being in government service as a congressperson, she needs to have 5 years. Now, anybody want to guess where she would date she reaches 5 years? January 3rd.
Exactly.
2026. So she'll be 5 years and 3 days, and she'll get to go back to her very wealthy lifestyle. And the only thing she'll have to do with the federal government is the Department of Treasury sending her checks every month, right? This is quintessential exit plan, her golden parachute. She may be stupid, but she's crazy like a fox. You hear me? The girl's got a good plan and she's working it. She'll likely run for governor of Georgia. She's taken a big step to the center, and CNN, she's their new darling. But Tyrone is right. Short of that, she's going to fade into the pages of people who get paid our tax dollars for absolutely nothing. And that's what's going to happen with Marjorie Taylor Green. But I do want to push back a bit on what Bill was saying, that, Democrats aren't fighting. Democrats are in the middle of a civil war like you would not believe. It is terrible, horrible. The only difference between their fighting and our fighting is we fight publicly. Mm-hmm. They go by the old African-American adages, what happens in our house stays in our house, right? Abuse, everything else that happens in our house stays in our house. The Democrats go by that adage. But make no mistake, there's plenty of hair pulling. There is plenty of hair pulling. Can you imagine having served this nation for 30 years and being overtaken in popularity and power in your own party by somebody named Zam Dammit? Mm-hmm. Really? Do you think they're going away without a fight? There's a bunch of hair pulling in the Democrat Party, and the media won't report it because most of them are Democrats. So,
yeah. Well, I got to say, I can't stand Marjorie. Frito Corleone Green. Okay. That's the way she needs to go. The way of Frito. Now, I'm not saying that literally. Okay. But again, she's a traitor. She's a turncoat. And she's a fraud, folks. You know, why did she have to resign early? That tells you right there that she cares nothing about her constituents and nothing about this party, nothing about the Republican Party. She does not care. She only cares about enriching herself. And guess what? She's another one. Came into Congress with a net worth of about $700,000. 5 years later, not even a full 5 years, she's worth $25 million. $25 million. That sounds like the Obamas to me. She's doing the Obama plan.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm with Larry here. I love Larry Elder, and I think she does have something else already planned. You mentioned it, Nicole, the pension plan. You know, that's another thing we can talk about later. You know, and again, the fact that she's a Republican. Again, I'm going to say it again. It happens on both sides, maybe the left a little bit more, but all of these congressmen, they come in making whatever the minimum pay is or whatever, and they leave 2, 3, 5 years later as double-digit millionaires while the taxpayers are still looking like how we're going to pay our health insurance. I mean, you know, it's ridiculous, but she will be forgotten. She's probably going to have a podcast or something, and she will be irrelevant. I asked the same thing. I said, well, why is she leaving now? Why not just finish your term? You know, and then maybe, you know, go out gracefully
to us.
Exactly.
And guess what? Remember we talked about this last time. So there's not a way where they're just going to appoint someone to replace her seat. They have to have a special election.
Absolutely.
Let's go. I love a good special election.
Well, Georgia is, I mean, remember the last time there was a special election in Georgia?
Listen.
We didn't go
We have some special people here as well who gave us some super chats here. We have, who else? William. William is back with his $5 super chat. Thank you, William. Wow. He says, on the left, community organizer is a career path. A protest equals instant participants. The right must counter organize. Look at the DNC, what they have done to, is that Western Maryland?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, William.
Thank you.
And we have Josh. Hi, Josh. Good to see you tonight. Josh, with your $20 super chat. He says the right will unite for the midterms, but I wish President Trump would get back to passing at McDonald's and hugging people. He is so good with regular people. I am worried, but I am worried people don't feel good financially yet. Yes, Josh.
Agreed. We talked about that today at length, about on paper, things are better, but in your pocket, it doesn't feel any better. We gave out 400 turkeys today and some fixins and whatnot, and had very brief conversations with people. Some people were just scamming us. There were people who pulled up in very expensive cars with somebody's turkey basket in the back. But then there were some people who really needed the help, who were saying that, yeah, on paper, everything looks good, but I still don't have enough money. So,
yeah, that's what it is, folks. But again, I'm nervous about midterms. I am, but I'm hopeful. I don't think it's as bad as some people are displaying it to be. But we got some work to do. All right. So I want to sort of stay on this this line of the party and the chaos going on right now. And that takes us to Megyn Kelly. So today, well, it wasn't actually, I think it was over the weekend, she did her, I think this was the final stop of her tour in Arizona. So she's been on tour now, where she brings on different people in the conservative movement, and she has chats with them, sort of taking on or trying to pay homage to Charlie Kirk and how he would go out and represent in front of these crowds. And so her last stop was in Arizona, and she spoke with Erika Kirk. All right. And so I want to just talk about this really quickly. I thought it was a great interview. And here are some of the highlighted moments where she talks about who she has around her friends, her family, those working in TPUSA. And you all will see, well, I'm going to ask you, do you let us know if you heard her say that the people around her, she feels like they are the ones that should be under investigation? Are these the people that she feels like may be involved in this tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk. Take a look here.
Every day is different, but I am so grateful that my husband, he's hand selected the village that surrounds me now. You know, he built Turning Point USA, yes, and it's a machine, yes, but he handpicked all of the people that not only run the organization, but that were within our orbit, our closest orbit, the people that he loved and he trusted so much, and that he knew without a shadow of a doubt, if something happened to him, that they would step up and they would be filled with the Holy Spirit and they would do what he knew they were born to do. And they wouldn't be afraid, they wouldn't cower, they would take on the mission that he had instilled in them. And so to be able to have that chosen family in that village that he helped literally handpick, I could not do a fraction of a fraction.
They've been amazing. Turning Point is in such good hands. Yes, obviously with you as the CEO, but the team that you have around you, all of whom I've met, are good and decent and loving people who adored Charlie.
They loved him.
Let's go back.
There you go. There you go. Not one mention of any of this nonsense that we have heard Candace Owens pick apart. Shelley, what are your thoughts on that? And I watched the whole interview.
Yeah. I listened to it. I didn't watch. I actually listened to it. I didn't want to see it. I wanted to hear. It was beautiful. It was very transparent. It was, tear jerking, of course. Look, Erika said herself in one part of that interview, Megyn asked her, has she seen or heard some of the things that are being said? And she said, she doesn't want to see it. She doesn't spend time doing that. Of course she's still grieving. But again, I've said before, I hope she's not listening to a lot of these things. I don't think she is. I really believe that she's not. And God bless her for not doing so.
Yeah. Nicole, what were your thoughts on that exchange? Again, she did not call Candace Owens out by name, but we have heard over the last several months that someone within the TPUSA organization is part of the assassination. We have heard this. Erika Kirk did not mention it. She went on the opposite end and said, these are the people that Charlie Kirk placed in her life to take care of the company. They are like family.
The crazy thing about it is she's way too busy to be, listening to internet rumors and that kind of punditry kind of spouting off. She's got too many things to do. Remember, she's got two very small children who are still looking for daddy. You can't tell them that daddy's in heaven one time. You have to tell them that every day, maybe 3 or 4 times a day. So that wound is still very fresh for her. Plus, she's got this turning point thing. I think the genius thing that Charlie did is, when you get death threats, you have to plan. If something happens, you have to plan. If you had an organization, you have to plan. What is your succession plan? And who's going to take care of your family? Who's going to make sure that all of the things that need to happen when your spouse is falling apart? And he was smart enough to do those things. And I will say, I belong to a lot of conservative organizations. Almost all of them have a very similar plan in place. You have to do that. It's a shame that in 2025, when you look at politics, some people feel like there's a target on their back just because of their political beliefs. So much so that, when we talk about planning, it's not like, well, we'll just get some insurance for the organization. Some people I know have planned their whole funeral already, have planned everything in the event that something happens. And that's a sad, sad, sad statement of where we are politically, but very smart on their behalf. I think he was very smart. I listened to it like Shelley. I didn't want to see it either, but just hearing the heartbreak in her voice. And this is one interview where I actually love what Megyn Kelly did. She softened her stance, she softened her voice, and she spoke to her from this really peaceful place. So it made the interview really good.
Yeah, I want to get your thoughts on this next exchange, Tyrone. We have one more exchange here. Let's take a look.
What's so amazing too about Turning Point is that after all this happened, we didn't have mass firing. We didn't have mass exodus. We didn't have any issues internally. Everyone, we grieved. But we were able to pull off an unbelievable memorial service.
It was incredible.
But that just is a testament to the team. I mean, that's not normal. That is the Holy Spirit moving within the organization. And now more than ever, I see the strength of the organization, because people aren't just there to write emails. And that's why the age of the individuals that work at the office, everyone's so young. Charlie didn't care if you went to college. He actually preferred that you didn't. He would hire you right out of high school. Yeah. But the organization itself is so healthy, and the culture is so healthy, and our chapters and the students and the field program and the Charlie Kirk show and the events team and everyone that is a part of the organization goes back to that tapestry of, there's a bunch of threads, but woven together, the organization is phenomenal. So no, we are not weakening at all. We are not becoming feminized at all. If anything, we're being more emboldened, and we will carry on my husband's legacy in a way that no one could even have imagined, and we'll make it everything he could have ever dreamed of and more.
All right. All right. So Tyrone, so again, as she said, no mass firings, no mass exiting. Based on her comments, do you feel Candace Owens' implications still have some validity? I mean, or could this be a situation where Erika doesn't know that there are people working in the company, as Candace Owens has implied, that have somehow connected with this assassination attempt on Charlie Kirk?
Candace Owens is the 21st century Morton Downey Jr. I don't know if you remember who he was. He's a television shock jock, okay? This woman, her most recent statement was that she's got some assassins that have been assigned to her by, I guess, the Mossad. She knows their names, that's something when you know your assassin's name. She's doing that. She's trying to figure out whether Brigitte Macron is a man or a woman. Listen, this organization, Turning Point, is a real organization. Okay, so it wasn't Charlie Kirk USA, it was Turning Point USA, which means that, hey, we set this up to survive, an individual or individuals no longer being a part of this. And that's a world-class organization when you find something like that. And I'm sure that it is or was his intent to have this thing go on for, to outlive him by, maybe even centuries. So the structure is that he set up is I really admire that, because that's how it should be done. So, God bless his widow. And just to land the plane, Morton Downey Jr. ended up going into infamy because he said he was attacked, okay? And these people painted a swastika on his face, okay? But the problem was it was backward, as if done in a mirror, okay? And that was the end of Morton Downey Jr., okay? So I don't know. I see Candace Owens going that route at some point.
Good point. Very, very good point. Folks, sound off in the chat. Let us know what you think. Do you think Erika Kirk's interview with Megyn Kelly should have shut the door on what Candace Owens has been saying? I mean, wouldn't Erika Kirk know if people within the organization, within their small circle, were involved in this? Is she not just saying anything? Or is she leaving it to Candace to be the one to expose it all? Yeah, right. So, I mean, but really, sound off in the chat. Let us know what you all think. We love to hear it. All right.
All right, we have another super chatter here. Hi, Jude. Jude, thank you for your $10 super chat. He says, have you ladies heard the new crazy talk from Candace? She's now saying that the French and Israel, of course, are involved with Charlie's murder. In addition to wanting to murder her, she is nuts.
Yeah. She's been posting X posts and Instagram posts about that all weekend. That's the new thing now. It's bizarre. It is bizarre. She is not only going the way of Morton Downey, she's going the way of Kanye West. Okay. I don't know, but we will continue to follow these stories and more, bring you all up to date, keep you all up to date, I should say, on what's going on. All right. So changing gears a little bit, and wow, you want to talk about me? We went from the tragic murder of Charlie Kirk to this. So there's a viral video going around of a mother and her son beaten by a mob of elementary age children after school. And so, I mean, it is just awful. And we want to just unpack this and just ask, how did we get here? How did we get here? Take a look. This is clip 2.
Other bitch, Lauren. That's his ass. Damn! Crack! Damn! Hey, fool, let my homie go. Let my motherfucking homie go. Beat his ass, yo! They working ass!
Wow. All right. Shelly, I want to start with you. I know this was this story, you had been following closely. What in the world is going on?
What's going on is that this is Lord of the Flies in 2025. These are feral, I call them feral children. And maybe by no fault of their own, because they probably have feral parents. So they actually learned what the parents taught them or allowed them to learn. It's heartbreaking. When I watched this, I brought tears to my eyes. And the question, what do we do? Well, I have one solution. All those children, you round them up along with their parents. And I would say, maybe drop them on an island where they can continue to be feral with each other. I mean, I don't, again, I've said this before regarding some other situation, but I know that children are impressionable. I know that they can be saved, if you will, not just religiously, but maybe saved just in their behaviors. But I'm at the point now, some things I don't waste my prayers on. I'm sorry if that sounds heartless. I just don't waste my prayers on it. I don't. I want people like this gone from society. That woman, her children, her son, God bless him, was trying to protect his mother in as much as he could. I mean, and then you got the parents, so far, what I've seen or the lack thereof, not even taking responsibility. They're not even embarrassed. So this is why I say they're feral. They are feral. Put them away like we would do feral animals and drop them and leave them. Throw them a couple of carrots, a couple of pieces of raw meat, and let them go for it.
Yeah. So just to give you all some backstory, this occurred near Orville Bright Elementary School in Chicago's South Deering neighborhood. Hatter was walking home with her son and daughter when a mob of kids described as elementary age, but including some teens, swarmed them. So we saw the video footage. The attack stemmed from 2 years of unchecked bullying at the school, where Hatter says her son was targeted because of her disability affecting how she walks and talks. She reported it to school officials multiple times, but nothing was done. So Nicole, I mean, these are young kids. Generally we see things like this, and you can say, well, to adults or to old young adults, you say, well, they had hard lives and they've been living, hard ways. But these are young kids. What do we do about that? How do we, affect this change?
Well, these young kids have had hard lives too, but that's no excuse for this type of behavior. It really is not. The mother of one of the older children that were participating in the fight has been squatting in a project because she had been put out because her kids burned down the grandmother's apartment. So the grandmother lost her Section 8 voucher. So they've just been squatting in an empty unit. So there are some social situations, some economic situations that may have played a very small part in this. But this is what happens when children raise themselves. Shelley's absolutely right. Lord of the Flies. What we saw over the weekend was all of these kids' parents coming out like their kids did nothing wrong. There was one father who doesn't live in Chicagoland. I can't remember where he lived, but he doesn't live in Chicagoland. So he was talking to his son on the phone saying, you need to make this right. And his son was like, I'm not taking my mask off. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. He sounded like a woman. You remember those 3 little terrorists that went to the Walgreens that was smacking their lips and twisting their hips just like their older sister? This is a learned behavior. The good news is just like they learned it, they can unlearn it. The bad news for them is it won't be easy. So all of Chicago, Southside Chicago, showed up and demand accountability. What does that actually mean? What does that mean? Do you fire the principal? Do you fire the security staff? Because there is security at this elementary school. Do you lock all the kids up in juvenile detention and charge the parents? There has to be enough pain and anguish across the spectrum to begin to affect this change. The worst idea that I heard over the weekend was the mother of the girl who threw the first punch. The one that's supposed to be the cheer captain and has good grades, says that they plan to start an anti-bullying campaign featuring her daughter because her daughter was just being a follower. It really wasn't her fault what she said. So these kids need intensive mentoring. I mean, not just like once or twice. They need CPS in their lives in a big kind of way. And these parents have to be financially liable for the damages done to this woman. Yes, they don't have much money. It'll make it hurt even more. But we cannot just sit back and say, oh, it's just feral children doing what feral children do. There has to be some level of hurt to go around to everyone so this behavior becomes something that they don't want to do anymore.
Yeah, Tyrone, I want to ask you, do you believe these types of incidents are we're finding out about this now because of social media, because we live in a world where everyone has a phone on their camera or right at their hand, or their video cameras all over the place. So this is nothing new, or do you believe that these types of incidents are new and we're dealing with a new type of evil? I don't know what else to call it. Evil, new type of children. What are your thoughts?
Well, absolutely the latter, because attacking someone's mother, at least when I was coming up and where I came up, that was absolutely unthinkable. Okay. I've never heard of that. Okay. And again, I came up in West Baltimore, so it wasn't like I just, from none of my friends or family, I've never heard of that. Okay. I think that when you talk about solutions, one thing that I believe that the schools, maybe they can replace Drag Queen Story Hour with this, especially where young men are concerned. Young men have to ask themselves, first of all, part of the issue is a lot of these boys are being raised by women, all right? And they're getting an overdose of estrogen-enabled behavior. Okay, they're getting the false impression that the way women respond to things is the way they should. Okay, and that's not correct. I think that young men need to be instilled with this question. Prior to any action you commit, ask yourself, how will this look 1 hour from now. 1 hour from now. If I engage, I always tell people this with road rage, okay? Let them have the lane, okay? Because if you get into a back and forth, how might this look an hour from now? And you remember 2 people on 695, the answer to that question was, we just killed 6 people, okay? So calm down, walk away from situations. You see trouble brewing. I have not so much as a point on my driver's license. If I see 2 police cars somewhere, I go another way. Okay. I go another way. There has been a culture, especially in the Black community, that ties this fake machismo to violence, and you're going to respect me. No one's going to respect you when you're behind bars or dead. Okay. And so we got a lot of work to do with these young men. And I put it on the schools simply because that's where you do, especially in Chicago, you got this guy, Marcus Klein, who's been working with kids forever and doing some really good work. They're not going to get it at home a lot of times. How does this look 1 hour from now? A lot of adults could benefit from that question, but kids especially.
Yeah. And we were talking about this behind the scenes, and you brought up a very good point. I mean, we have a situation where we have a large majority of our community are raised by single moms, okay? And you have these boys being raised by single moms. And so my question then is, or my comment is, and then, well, before I get into that, and then you all said, you know, that we aren't used to seeing this, and we've been raised in different, you know, rough areas and things. We're not used to seeing kids, you know, come after adults like this, let alone mothers. So then I go back to, okay, we're looking at many of these households are being raised by single mothers. What example are mothers showing to their kids these days? Because it used to be back in the day when you saw a mother in the neighborhood, or you and your friends were encountered a mother, that a mother had a certain amount of reverence because she brought out a certain amount of respect for herself, where you straightened up and you walked right. Your voice was different. Your mannerisms were different. Whatever you were doing, if it wasn't right, generally when mother came, we all straightened up. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, Miss Robinson. No, Miss Robinson. And then as soon as Miss Robinson left, you may go back to the way you were acting. But when Miss Robinson came, because Miss Robinson carried herself with class, okay, she wasn't out walking around with her booty out and no belly rings and, you know, hair, breast off. Miss Robinson walked with class. So then when children saw her, you know, they act right. The children Miss Robinson raised knew how to react to other Miss Robinsons in the community. We don't have a Miss Robinson anymore. So is it these mothers that are leading these kids down the wrong way? What is it? And then if that's the case, no school is going to ever be able to control that. I don't care how lax or how many drag queen story hours, how many lax things. School cannot fix that.
Exactly. So KJ, to your point, I think it's that. I think it's the lack of the fathers. Not only that, a lot of time, I said this before, we've talked about it. Children, by and large, and of course it's going to vary depending on the family, your parents, but for the most part, the culture today is that children and adults are on equal levels. Okay. Right. You know, no other adult can correct my child because my child didn't do such and such. Okay. Johnny is a good boy and Susie is a good girl, and you need to come and talk to me. Don't correct my child. And you know, who are you? All this stuff. So teachers can't be adults for the most part. I'm talking about about the good teachers, right? Good teachers can't correct your children. Coaches can't. You got parents running on the football in the sports field, attacking the coaches when they're trying to correct the children from playing the games. So again, a lot of parents today think that, oh, my child is too good or above you, or even certainly equal with you. You got adults that allow children to call them by their first name, no miss, no mister on it, okay? Just call them by their first name, and damn you, adult, if you absolutely say anything corrective to somebody else's child. Oh no, it's on now. So all of this plays into it, where again, children don't even see adults as being adults. There's no distinction between adults, and you have a lot of adults who kind of like that. Maybe they're still living in their child days, or they want to relive their childhood, but they're not setting up the boundaries and the expectations between children and adults. Now, when I grew up, you all can probably attest to this. What was the saying? Children should be seen and not heard, or however it goes, right? And again, we didn't like it and all that stuff, but that meant that this is an adult area, this is an adult time and place. You go play with a dog, go do whatever you're gonna do, go read a book, but get out of my adults' places and faces. So that those lines are largely gone. I mean, and listen, this is what we have. Again, we have feral children. It's not in the home, like Tyrone said, or you said it. There's no schools going to be able to do that. But at one time, the community, i.e. the schools, the churches, if you will, were there to catch those people who were falling through the cracks, because there were still boundaries set up in the outside of the home, where there were still standards that the children had to follow. But no, you got adults coming in. Oh no, you're not going to say that to my child.
Well, I'm sorry. It was very interesting because Chicago, South Side, did exactly what you guys are talking about. They showed up en masse. They were outraged by this behavior. And this wasn't, ritzy Chicago coming down to the hood saying we shouldn't do this. This was the hood showing up for the hood. This was angry single mothers who were saying, if I had 3 wishes, I wish a blankety blank would. Swing on me, because I'm going to give you what your mother should have gave you. Because there are some single mothers who may not be with the father of their children, but the father is still active in that child's life, like the guy who called from wherever he lived, right? So there are some people who are trying to correct it. But here's the thing. When you take a look at some of these children who behave this way, their mother, at least the little cheerleader girl, her mother appeared to be maybe 17, 18 years older than her. And her friends were in that same age group. Her mother is still running the streets, still looking for love in all the wrong places and bringing home more babies. So what happens to the child who's not getting enough now when they're replaced by the new baby? What happens then? What happens when they're all replaced by mama's new boyfriend for at least a temporary minute? Children act out for a reason. Make no mistake. Very few children are just born, rough and ready. Right. Most of them are behaving a certain kind of way. The problem that we're going to have in solving the solution is exactly what Shelley said. Our culture has shifted so much away from respectability. Just the Guys has that slogan, bring back shame. There were people who were like, bring back belt BTA, as they say, fill in the blank, belt to ass, right? Bring that back, bring back shame, bring back motherhood, bring back fatherhood. There's a lot of work that has to happen in our communities to right this thing with children. But this particular group of children are going to have to pay the price for their actions.
Well, I mean, as you mentioned, they showed up, but they showed up too late. The issue here for me is because we've had young people having babies. In my grandmother's age, my grandmother was really young when she had my uncle. I mean, we've had young people having babies, but the difference is they had a husband or a dad in the home. And right now we have a situation where people don't start together and they don't stay together. This is it, folks. And I'm not for all this. I blame the men. I blame the women. No, it takes two. You need to start together and you need to stay together, at least to raise your children. That's my issue. I'm not out here, where you have this manosphere where they're blaming the women, and then you have these feminists where they're blaming the men. start together and stay together. That's it. You know, and then you have some people who say, well, you're talking about, well, I can't stay in a bad home, or I can't stay. I'm not talking about abuse, okay? But I can't stay. Well, let me tell you this. Back in the day, people stayed together, and we didn't have children that's growing up like the children we have today, okay? So that is not an excuse for me. You know, people say, well, I can't stay in, I'm unhappy. Well, look, they stayed in unhappy homes back in the day, and they were able to raise good, law-abiding, for the most part, productive people. Okay, what we have now is awful, and what we're seeing are parents are not starting together, and they're not staying together. Okay, so that's what it is for me. But please, folks, sound off in the chat. Let us know what you think. What's going on? How can we fix this? How can we fix it?
We got a few super chats. Let's see. We read Jude. We have one from Jude. So he says, for your $10 super chat, have you ladies heard the new crazy talk from Kansas? I think we read this one. We have another super chat from Chadwick for $5. Thank you for that. He says, Shells, there's a place in Alaska for them, those feral children. Okay, let's get them there as quickly as possible. Thank you, Gimpy, for your $2 super chat. Gimpy says, make reform schools great again. Yes, absolutely.
Amen.
And Chadwick is back again with his $2 super chat. Thank you very much. He says, you cannot blame a non-existent variable. We're not going there. We're not going there with him tonight. No. We're not going there with him tonight.
They were existent in order to make the child. So we're
right. But I'll say this: there's plenty of research that talks about the non-existent parent. In this case, I think Chadwick is referring to the dad and the impact that has, largely negative on that child and that family. So we're not going there tonight. But okay, Chadwick, thank you for your super chat anyway.
Yeah. That's definitely another story, because if you guys have seen the Anton Daniels interview of Brian McKnight, oh my goodness, you want to talk about shameful. Oh, that's something we can do a whole show.
That's the guys need to talk about that.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. All right. So, well, one thing I did see in the chat is somebody said those children need their behinds beat. Okay. Well, you're about to get that next. So, take a look. This is another viral video of a teacher, no doubt. This is a teacher. This mom is a teacher in a elementary school, and she is punishing her son. And the older son videotaped it. So I want to ask you all in the chat, is this acceptable old school punishment or criminal? Take a look. This is clip 7.
No, you're not fucking sorry. Because if you were fucking sorry, then you would do this stupid shit to begin with. You wouldn't make extra work on everybody else in this house because you won't clean up after yourself. Because you don't do what you're supposed to do. Do you understand me? Ow, 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 ow! Everybody else will say, fucking please move to your goddamn work a while ago, and she run off down there to the fucking neighbor's house. Ow!
All right. So, that woman was actually named Teacher of the Year at an Alabama elementary school. She has now been arrested after the horrific video of her allegedly beating her 12-year-old son with a belt was leaked by guess who? The older brother leaked it. She's a second grade teacher. Nicole Staples now has been charged and fired from her job. Staples' older son, Jackson, says he was the one who leaked the footage to Cottage Hill Christian Academy, where she worked. She was named Teacher of the Year just last May. He says, I didn't feel like, she should be working at the school or even doing that to my little brothers, said 24-year-old Jackson Staples. Jackson said his mom had done it to me my whole life. Staples was charged with willful abuse of a child under 18. So sound off. Nicole, I want to start off with you. Is this acceptable old school punishment or criminal?
No, I've never seen a mother, pull a child up by the top of their hair, get in their face, slap them out a couple times. All of that screaming and carrying on. She was so angry. Even the dogs wanted to bite her. Did you see the little dogs that was coming for her? Because, like, get off my kid. As a parent, you don't want to discipline your child out of anger. You don't. You want to cool off, take a few minutes, get yourself together before you start ranting and raving. And I say that as somebody who's got 19 nephews. And there's been many a time where I wanted to punch them in the chest because of some of the dumb things that boys do that little girls typically don't do. But you have to stop and think, okay, I'm not a man. This is probably some kind of boy foolishness. I'm going to sit down and talk to him. I have one nephew that words bounce off his forehead. So he's not really listening to you in that moment. And I do want to grab him by the shoulders and shake him generously. But somebody has to be the adult in the situation. She went way too far, over the top. Now, I personally didn't have a problem with her, a couple of swats. That's not a problem. But when you get to 25, 30 smacks with a leather belt, then you're in his face, breathing on his eyeballs, pull him up by the top of his hair, get in his face and slap him across the face. You're doing too much because he didn't do his chores. I'd hate to see if he got into some real trouble. She'd probably shoot him.
Yeah. Tyrone, I want to go to you. I want to get a male's point of view. Do you think that was too far, or was that acceptable old school punishment? Oh, you're muted.
Acceptable old school punishment. It was mild by comparison to what we used to get. Okay. And I've shared this with y'all before. We were raised by the men discipline the boys in my family. And we had, for the most part, combat veterans. And you didn't get beat with a belt. You got grabbed by the collar, put up against the wall, and you might even receive a shot to the chest. Okay. And I'm to this day thankful for it because they understood that either they disciplined us or society would. All right. And society has a different way of disciplining you, which is to incarcerate you and to take your future away from you, or to go out on the streets and get your life taken away from you. As far as that, the 24-year-old son, he would never come back in my house. All right. Doing something like that, taping that woman. So an ass whipping can save your life. All right. An ass whipping can save your life. I remember a few years ago, Baltimore City school police officer was spit on by a student, and he slapped the crap out of that student and then kicked him up his ass when he turned around. And I'd like to believe that that created an epiphany in that student and that he is doing very well to this day. And I am positive he'll never spit on anybody again, which is something that can get you killed. So, no.
Let me ask you, and I want to just jump in before I get you in, Shelly. And you think it was appropriate for the mother to beat that son like that?
I have been put up against the wall like I was in a Hells Angels bar and punched in the chest by a World War II veteran.
Your mother? Your mother?
No, my grandfather.
Oh, your grandfather. Okay.
Yeah, the women didn't do discipline in my not.
But because some people have said, well, that is very traumatic to have the mother, jack up her son like that. So
where's the father?
Yeah. Okay. Shelly, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I didn't hear that, but I don't think it matters if it was the father, or I don't think a father would have done that. I think a father would have handled it differently. Number one, I don't think most fathers would not have gone to that extreme. Number one. Number two, I am for spanking, popping, smacking a child, even whatever. But that was not just a whooping. Maybe it was a whooping, but that was a beating. Not only that, at a certain point, that child looked like he was at least in the 6th grade, maybe 7th, because he was kind of tall. At a certain point, literally beating a child is counterproductive. It not counterproductive in the sense of their development, mentally, physically, whatever. It becomes counterproductive, and it's not going to accomplish the goal. Maybe for that day, but it's going to breed anger in that child. Again, I am not against corporal punishment, and I'm talking about corporal in the sense, again, smacking their ass, spanking, whatever. I'm not against that at all. But there are extremes. There are limits, I think. Apparently these children, apparently they've been feeling like they've been abused anyway. The oldest son taped it or whatever, right? So, and not only that, she was teaching at a Christian school. I always say it's always the church folk, but nevertheless,
the Bible says, "Spare God, spoil the child."
Grab him by his hair and slap him across the face.
And then let me dispel this other myth. Most people are saying, you shouldn't discipline your child in anger. Oh, okay, I don't know a parent that doesn't do it in anger, because usually most of us are not that self-controlled to say, okay, I mean, anger, and I'm talking about hitting the child, whatever, or even just disciplining. We fuss, we yell, whatever. That was too much. That was just too much. I'm glad CPS is involved in this instance. That was too much. But Tyrone, your question was perfect. Where's the father?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was just going to say, I think that was too much also. I do. I think that was too much. But I will say it depends on the child. There are some children where you don't even have to do that. You don't have to go to that level. There are some children that are very affected by just disappointing the parents. There are some children you can talk to, and there are other ways that work with them. I don't know, that family dynamic. I don't know that child. But the child did not seem like one. I mean, I've seen the ones where, you know how like you beating them and you realizing it's not doing much. You hitting them that way and you're like, oh, this isn't even working. It does not matter to them, But that boy looked, humiliated. He looked humiliated to me, and that then is not correction. It goes to me. Where have we moved past correction here?
Exactly.
And to something else.
Exactly. And children should feel. Go ahead, I'm sorry. Children should fear their parents in a healthy way. Healthy reverence or whatever you want to call it. Not fear that they are going to literally kill me or harm me to that degree. That's a difference. He did. He just looked. That's what I mean about counterproductive. There can be so many other counterproductive consequences from humiliating, demeaning a child. That's not correction at all. That's more about that. That's more about that woman just saying that, okay, I can beat you, basically.
This is interesting.
He was raging
because this is a real world kind of exploration of the differences in the way females look at discipline and the way males look at it. And I don't want to go to the extremes, but this may be why you have little feral children running around here, because they are raised by, again, like I said, that this feminine attitude where, you don't know this boy might be a holy terror. Okay.
Well, it was the woman.
And that's for the brother. You're sitting there taping. If you thought it was so wrong, why didn't you confront her right then and there?
Because you just made a very good point. So generally, boys that are raised in households like that, where they are beaten to the point of submission, that becomes, because that is submission. You're beaten to the point of submission of they're not brave. Those are not the ones running into saving people. It's almost like a dog. Like there are you can't beat every dog. There are certain dogs that are going to come out of it and they're going to be better. But that was something where he was afraid. So the only thing he could do was videotape, because he'd gone through the same thing.
Exactly.
And you just disproved your point. That was a woman beating him. So how is it?
Well, listen.
How old was the oldest son? I don't
24
know.
years old.
24.
And you saw him peeking from around the cabinet, but y'all looking for daddy. Daddy's probably beat up and taped up in the closet somewhere. She don't have what to do. She has an anger issue. As somebody who was formerly an angry person, I can tell you she has an anger issue. And it's not about him not cleaning up, him not using or putting paper towels out. It's not about any of that. It's about her and her internal rage. And they are just pawns in her big play of, I am so angry, I'm going to hit something. Unfortunately, snatching your child by their hair and slapping them across the face while you're cussing out their eyeball looks bad every single
Tyrone,
day.
she's creating, this is a psycho movie in the making. Okay. Norman and his mother.
Yeah, that dad's somewhere in that house buried, beneath a slab. Don't be looking for daddy too hard, because I'm telling you, she definitely got his number.
And look, again, I'm for spanking and popping. I'm for that. I'm for that. I would say age appropriate discipline, if you will. But that wasn't a spanking. That was more than a spanking.
Well, you all sound off in the chat and let us know what you think. Do you believe that this was old school acceptable punishment or criminal? I mean, now she's and that was another question I had for you all. Like, I mean, what would you do if the child, someone within your household videotaped it and sent it out to somebody? Oh my God.
Well, all I can say is I hope CPS got those children protected, because now that she lost her job and everything else, I'm glad they got them kicked out the house. She would really go crazy on them. But we have a super chatter who wants to chime in. Judah Roars. Okay, Judah. $5 super chat. Thank you. Last time I got a whooping like this, I was in 4th or 5th grade by my mom. When I was asked me to skip class. Wait a minute. Okay, let me say how I think you're saying it. When you were asked to skip class, a crush of yours asked you to skip class. You said no. I think I read that right. But okay, Judah, thank you for your $5 super chat.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. Well, folks, sound off. Let us know what you think, men and women. Maybe this is an issue of gender. Like Tyrone said, maybe the women are saying one thing, the men are saying the other. Chadwick says CPS was called back in a case in the early 2000s, which is why this is the way it is right now. Okay.
Yeah. Listen, let's look at it from a different perspective. If this was a man who grabbed a woman by the top of her hair, cussed her eyeball out and slapped her across the face, pulled his belt out and hit her 24 times, would you not be incensed?
Yes, they would be.
Of course they would.
But this is not that. This is
it's worse. This is their mother. She's supposed to nurture them. She's supposed to protect them. And here she is. I mean, at some point, this boy is going to get big enough to whoop her ass. Let's call it what it is. And when he hauls off and starts kicking the crap out of her, then everybody's looking at him going, where's the father? Where's the father? The father's in the basement buried, and he's doing what he's got to do to survive.
Depending on this kid's behavior, she very well could be protecting him. Because again, okay, you can discipline your kids or you can defer it and let society do it. And when society does it, there'll be a plexiglass screen between you and Junior when you want to meet up with him on visiting day. I think they serve turkey breast a few days from now down at Jessup for Friends and Family Day. Okay.
Listen, look, I think a mother can discipline a son and a father can discipline a daughter. Mm-hmm. I just think that this was beyond correction, if you will. This was way beyond a spanking, appropriate discipline. This was beyond. Let's see. We have William is back with your $10 super chat. He says, Dad was a combat platoon commander in the South Pacific. All my mother had to say was, wait till your dad gets home. In my public school, all the teachers had paddles. Yep.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Thanks,
yes,
William.
Indeed. Thank you so much. All right, folks. Well, that does it for us tonight. Thank you all so much for watching. We will be back on Wednesday. We'll be back on Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So definitely check us out on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. right here on Pop and Politics. Please check us out. We would love to hang out with you all before our Thanksgiving holiday. All right. Final thoughts, Tyrone, for the audience.
Oh, well, again, thank you all for letting me be a part of this. And check out Soldiers of Finance, and be sure we got some content on there that you'll like.
All right, absolutely. All right, Shelly, final thoughts.
Gobble, gobble. That's my final thought. You know, this is like my favorite holiday. So I wish you all a lovely, lovely, blessed Thanksgiving. And I'll be back with you. We'll be back next week or Wednesday?
This Wednesday. Yeah,
Wednesday. Wednesday. That's right. Today's only Monday. Oh my gosh.
All right. Nicole, final thoughts.
31 days until Christmas. Let me say that again. 31 days until Christmas. Most folks, that's 2 paychecks between now and Christmas. So you're going to want to go ahead and order now your unapologetically American t-shirt, get you some trucker hats, maybe the classic Poppin' Politics t-shirt. Order your things now so they don't get lost in the mail and you have gifts for everybody in your family. 31 days and counting.
Wow. Yes, indeed. All right, folks. And tomorrow you can catch the All American Talk show right here on YouTube at All American Talk. So you can check out the All American Talk show right here on YouTube tomorrow night. That's Tuesday at 7 p.m. They're going to have a great show lined up for you, bringing you the latest in news and politics. That's at All American Talk right here on YouTube. All right. And then we will be back on Wednesday. Thank you all so much. Until next time, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.
Good night.